Sarah Maxwell. I'm the Director of Marketing here at ThriveAP. And we wanted to start introducing folks to our amazing expertise of speakers, our amazing faculty, and really get to know them a little bit better and help people meet our team. So today we're going to kick off here with John Pouliot. And John, thank you so much for joining us.
It is great to be here. Thanks for having me.
John, I'll just dive right in. I know you've been helping ThriveAP out and speaking for our participants since about 2016 now. So tell us a bit more about yourself, a little bit about your background. Let's get to know you a little bit better.
Great. Well, I grew up in Rhode Island and went to undergrad at Providence College. I thought I was going to go into medicine and decided I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I kind of changed tracks and ended up in North Carolina for pharmacy school. After graduating from pharmacy school, I moved to Nashville and did some postgraduate training at Vanderbilt Medical Center in general care and then in critical care. I kind of found a passion for critical care and emergency medicine, but just generally inpatient care. And then started some practices in Middle Tennessee at a couple of hospitals. And then in 2016, I joined the faculty at Lipscomb University College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, where I've been serving as an assistant and now associate professor since joining the faculty. And I pretty much practice or teach kind of across the entire curriculum and across the board. And so for ThriveAP, I've taught outpatient management of opiates, and now I'm excited to be connected with you all and doing the inpatient, the new inpatient coursework. Currently, in addition to my responsibilities at the university, I also maintain a practice site in emergency medicine at Williamson Medical Center down in Franklin, Tennessee. So I have a little bit of the classroom and a little bit of actual practice that I can use to give my students a well-rounded experience. I live in Brentwood, Tennessee, have a wife and 2 daughters. They keep us pretty busy, but I'm certainly excited about the opportunities with Thrive going forward.
Well, hey, and it's perfect to talk to somebody local. ThriveAP is obviously, we're headquartered here in Nashville, so we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I mean, obviously you just said how much insane experience you have and how well-rounded that is. So it might be difficult to do this, but could you pinpoint maybe, is there one really noteworthy career accomplishment that you've achieved, and what would that be, and why do you feel that that's kind of the one you'd like to hang your hat on, so to say?
Yeah, I think probably the getting a faculty appointment is probably one of my most noteworthy career accomplishments. Being able to teach and being identified as somebody that can not only practice at a high level, but can also teach the next generation of pharmacists. And by extension, in my role, I teach our physician assistants and a little bit of nursing and things like that. So I'm kind of in the different healthcare fields, but that has probably been my biggest career accomplishment, just because, it's one thing to achieve things on your own and, get papers published and things like that, and you're kind of doing that. But to have to have a university identify you as somebody that they think is qualified enough and competent enough to teach students, that's kind of another level of accomplishment for me. Absolutely.
Congratulations on that. I think that's, like you said, it just really speaks to the amazing expertise that you bring to the table and all of the experience that you've had in the field. So that's amazing. Congratulations. And then I know we kind of touched base on this a little bit about how you've been speaking with and working with ThriveAP since 2016, but tell us a bit more about, what attracted you to, with your already very busy schedule, it sounds like, what attracted you to adding this to your plate and helping out in this way?
I think my passion for teaching started when I was in my postgraduate training. Up until that point, most of my exposure to healthcare was pretty limited to pharmacy and pharmacists and technicians and so forth. And in my postgraduate training, I really explored a lot of education outside of that area. And I was in educational experiences with providers and advanced practice providers and nurses, and so many different areas of practice that I wasn't familiar with. What attracts me to ThriveAP, generally speaking, is the opportunity to teach a different profession or a different area of practice, to maybe be a little bit of an advocate for pharmacy. For the students that have been on my classes, I usually will make a joke about them contacting their friendly neighborhood pharmacist. But that's the big thing, is really the challenge of tailoring my educational delivery to a different provider, a different aspect of care, but also just teaching and getting that experience of being able to empower the next generation of practitioners to take care of patients better.
Yeah, that's something I've really noticed through my experience with ThriveAP is that's kind of a shared mentality across advanced practice providers, is that giving back to the community. And you don't always find that in every field and every industry, but that passion I've really picked up on in this line of work, and especially with our speaking staff and faculties. It's this kind of innate thing that you'll have that you want to give back, you want to develop the future talent, and you really want to help, and that is really unique.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's really a blessing more than anything to have found something to do with my career, and by extension, working with you all, that I actually enjoy. And so when you talk about a busy schedule, yes, I have a busy schedule. Got a lot of stuff going on at home, with 2 kids chasing me around all the time. But it certainly is a no-brainer to be able to jump on a call for an hour or two with you all and do some education.
Well, we're obviously very grateful to have you. Kind of in that note, though, speaking of supporting your fellow APPs and helping to develop them, I think a lot of folks have that kind of mentor or a couple of mentors that really help them in their career to get to, where you are now today. What do you think maybe are a couple of attributes, if you're looking back to some of your mentors or peer mentors, that you see that this is what really makes a good one? This is really what people need to be able to achieve their goals.
That's a great question. I think one of the first things that I have found in successful mentors, and I'm thankfully in a position where I'm starting to get into being a mentor to younger students now, being in my career a decent amount of time. The first thing is listening to the person and understanding where they're coming from, what their career aspirations are, and understanding their personality, and maybe trying to guide them based on that information. I think some of the ditches that mentors and people that are in professions can get into are trying to cookie cutter the mentee into their vision of what they think they should do. And I think that's not really helpful. It's going to cause frustration on both ends of that relationship. And so I think the mentor, with the experience, with the breadth of knowledge, should really spend some time kind of understanding what their aspirations are, what their how their personality works, what are some of the things that kind of make them tick, and not trying to guide them into your career path, but understanding that their career path is going to be unique to them, and maybe there might be some overlap, but for the most part, empowering them. So understanding what motivates them, and then tailoring that guidance to the person so that they can be as successful as possible, and then cheering them on, getting out of the way, being there as a support, but cheering them on, facilitating their successes, helping them when they have shortcomings, and going from there. But I think it all starts with, mutual understanding and really kind of a listening mentality.
I think those are really great points. I think you're right too. Often folks do get, I'm your mentor, so this was my path, so here's your path. But everybody has different innate skills that they bring to the table. So finding a way just to foster those and support that is really key. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
So kind of a gear shift a little bit. I mean, healthcare is changing so fast. It is so hard to keep up with what's the newest procedure, what's the latest advancement that we need to know about or we should be aware of. So are there any, favorite resources, journals, apps, anything that you use that really, hey, here's somewhere I can go and I know I'm going to get some great information and insights to kind of stay abreast those changes?
Yeah, one of the things is I sign up for tables of content for different journals that are applicable to my practice. So some of them are general, like New England Journal and JAMA, and then sometimes they're more specific to where your practice setting is. But I think that's really helpful. Even if you're not reading all the articles, you're kind of seeing trends. You're like mentally making notes of trends. I make it a note to try to read an article a day if I possibly can. And maybe that's, a small article or it's a more in-depth one. But I try to do that. But using those tables of content to not just like see what's coming out from a primary literature perspective, but also to kind of see what kind of trend. I'm seeing a lot of conversation about Alzheimer's lately, or multiple sclerosis, or some infectious disease thing that's going on. The other thing I think is to try to engage yourself with students and learners, whether that be formally or informally. Being on faculty, I have students around me all the time, and they really motivate me to stay abreast of everything more than anything else. Because I don't need to know all the answers to every questions for them, but I definitely want to model a mentality of continuous learning and improvement, self-improvement. And so I think those are the two big things. There's a couple apps that you can get. There's one called QX MD, and it's an app that you can kind of put in your different specialties and areas of interest, and it'll cultivate or kind of tailor like a daily experience, and they'll send you emails and things like that. So instead of looking at all the tables of content, you can get like specific articles that are pertinent to what you're interested in. And then podcasts, if you're into podcasts, I tend to do podcasts more than music in the car. I try not to overload with medical because I'm medical all day long, but sometimes you can get some really quick podcasts that are 5 minutes and they go over a quick topic. And so those kinds of things help you to be more efficient with your time and still stay up on everything.
No, those are some great tips. I know we do get asked that pretty often. And I think luckily for us too, being on this side, we've got people like you teaching our participants. So it's pretty exciting. Sometimes we'll have, some of the different health systems come back to us and, in a specific conversation, one told me, the questions they're asking me, sometimes I have to go look them up. Yeah. I don't necessarily have that answer right off the top of my head because they're getting this up-to-date information from your instructors. So their questions are getting better, but sometimes I have to look them up myself. So, I get that.
Yeah. And y'all have a very unique, group of students or a group of learners, and that they've graduated from their program. They're in the early part of their careers. So they're more interactive. They're asking better questions. And so it's kind of this in between. Sometimes when you give continuing education to seasoned providers, they kind of just sit there and stare and wait to get the code so they can get credit, right? And then students are, not experienced enough. So it is a really unique group of learners here that kind of keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, well, luckily we have people like you who are continuously learning, so that they can be. But well, we've taken up a ton of your time, so I just have one more question for you. If you could give any advice to the APPs of today to prepare them for a successful future, be it in your path or in a different career path, what would that be?
A few things. First, the last few years, especially in healthcare, have been particularly difficult. Shortages and, obviously COVID, but just all the things that have kind of been exposed in healthcare because of COVID. I think the biggest thing is not to forget your why. Why do you want to do this? Why are you wanting to take care of patients? What gets you out of bed every morning? I think that is what is going to drive you to be successful, to maintain your high level of practice. But if you forget your why and you're just doing it to go through the motions, that's when you're going to lose a lot of the pleasure and joy out of taking care of patients, and potentially, you could miss things and so forth. The other thing is, I think it's always important to remember that we have a higher calling in healthcare than other areas of practice, and that there's a patient at the end of of what we're doing. We can't just have a bad day, because a bad day could negatively impact the patient. Another thing is, I think it's important to have outlets so that you can keep good emotional balance, especially given the stresses of being in healthcare now. And then the last I would say is, and this is hard. This is self-advice. Don't make your career everything. Your career is important. Patients are at the end of what you're doing. It's very important to do your best every day. But if you make your career everything, you're going to look back and not have anything else that's meaningful in your life. So it's important to make sure you maintain perspective. That's going to help you be a better provider for patients, and it's going to help you be a better contributor to society. So those are kind of the pieces of advice that I'd give.
I think those are amazing. And honestly, I think quite a few of those can be applicable, like you said, no matter your career path. So I think those are some really good sound advice that, maybe we should all read every morning, But thank you so much. We've taken up some of your time today, and we're so grateful to have you speaking for us, helping to educate the APPs of the future. And just really want to thank you for your time today as well.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope, folks, that you'll join us again on our next one. We'll continue to introduce you to our amazing expertise and our amazing faculty staff. So have a great day.